For a Nigerian who's currently in Lagos and listening to me, do we have any business? Should I even be bothered about what's happening in Ukraine today?
There are many reasons why we actually need to be concerned, because matters that arise from one part of the world in this era of globalization tend to affect people from very, very far distance. And this is where we as citizens also begin to call on our leaders, beginning with our country, that look, the way to go is not blame game, but rather to find diplomatic grounds to actually douse this tension as early as possible.
Now, let's do specifically about, you mentioned gas. So
Yes.
how precisely does this affect? Gas is already expensive in Nigeria. Gas is very expensive.
Yes.
What's the link? I mean, I'm sure some of my listeners are wondering, what is he talking about? What's the link between Russia? Russia is very far away. In fact, someone jokingly asked me, wait, all I'm concerned about is the nuclear weapons. If they fire nuclear weapons in Russia, will it reach Nigeria? If it will not reach my backyard, I'm not concerned. So, how does this war tie to gas? How does it affect the price of bread, like you've mentioned? How does it cause a direct impact on Nigerians?
Okay, let me take a broad spectrum of the implication on the Nigerian economy and narrow it down to the issue of gas.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Nigeria is actually a major producer of oil. That is actually known, a given. Every Nigerian knows that. But we all know that we actually depend on external technology. We depend on external foreign direct investment to a very large extent for us to be able to do this. And we also know that, yes, despite the fact that we have huge reserves and we do a lot of export, that we do not refine oil back at home, right?
Yeah.
Now, we actually produce oil, and we know that, okay, the government pegs its revenue within the budget against the prices of crude oil within the international market.
Absolutely.
Now, we feel very comfortable when, to some extent, when the prices are fairly stable. The point is this: we do not determine the price of crude oil or indeed any particular commodity that Africa exports within the international market. These are determined virtually by the vagaries of the market, which we all know that, of course, the powerful countries tend to determine the direction of how this goes. Now, in the case of crude oil, you find out that each time there is a crisis of this nature, the likelihood, especially when it affects the major producer of either oil or gas, in which case Russia is actually a major producer of natural gas.
Yeah.
And even the EU depends, and the major other countries depend on Russian gas.
Yeah.
Take it from me. Now,
40%, let me ask you that 40% of the gas used in the whole of Europe is generated by Russia alone.
Oh, yes.
That's a huge percent.
Why a negotiation will soon take place, I can assure you about that. But before then, in the case of Nigeria, we depend on this crude oil, which is not being refined at home, but refined abroad and brought in. We might begin to celebrate, this will have a positive effect for Nigeria with the Brent crude jumping to about 100. Well, let's just say above 100, right?
Yeah, yes.
Because the prices are hardly stable. It could be 103.33 yesterday.
Yeah.
Today it can be a little bit different. I've not checked the prices for today. But however, yesterday it was within that range. Now, this is something that was within 90. Now, as at 2014, this is the highest we have had so far since 2014. We could begin to celebrate and say that, we'll have more revenue in our accounts. The excess crude account could have more. But that might not actually be the case. Before we begin to celebrate, before we begin to shout uhuru, now let's take note that we'll refine that crude oil at home, bring it back home, and of course the implication is that we'll pay more, right? And then, of course, what will actually come in might be more. More in the sense that government will have to actually pump in more subsidy to ensure that the pump price remains at the price that government has actually pegged it to be.
More subsidy?
Of course, more subsidy. If you were subsidizing, if the price was 90, right, and government had budgeted some 3 trillion within the budget to take care of subsidy, and you now have to pay, the price now jumps to 103 or above that, in case this war does not subside within the quickest time, it means we have to actually pay more subsidy. In which case, the country will not rather be gaining, but will be losing in the long run. Because you gain from one side, and use it to pay on the other side.
Let's talk about something else that will be affected. Well, I mean, you mentioned bread in passing. I would like to harp on that. And here's why the bread that you buy, might also, I'm sure this one, not a big loaf of bread in Lagos sells about 800 naira now.
That is correct.
800 naira. That's on the street. I'm not talking about the stores or the malls. I'm saying on the street. It's about 800 naira, the big loaf. Now, that price might also increase. And let me shock you. The reason is also because wheat. Are you listening? They are the largest producers of wheat. Wheat, that we use to make bread.
Yes.
So, if you want to cross your fingers, maybe you should be expecting the price of bread to also, in not too far a time, also jump up. Nigeria's total import from Russia goes around 898 billion. 898 billion. You're asking me, what's our business with Russia? Well, from Russia, Nigeria imports durum wheat. We also import fish, mackerel, what is that thing called? Mackerel, alaron fish, yes, mackerel, that one you buy. You go to weigh at the kilo, it comes from there. So the prices might also go up. So if you think that food is expensive now, okay, I'll let you talk about that one. The cost of food.
You actually have to place the statistics right. Before you went there, I wanted to actually drop the oil narrative and actually move to the dimension of, wheat production. Now, you've given a very clear picture of the production and then the exchange between Nigeria and then Russia as well as with Ukraine. The case of bread, which is actually what the average man is concerned every daily, day in, day out. If we're able to eat, sometimes we're actually less concerned about who is in government.
Absolutely. And nothing else can matter once the tummy is full.
But bread is already affected in Nigeria. But the truth is that for now, it's not as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah.
But it's likely to actually jump up because of the factor of wheat in production of bread. There were, policies, efforts to move away from dependence on, wheat. But we know that, bread made from wheat, bread made from other flours like cassava, definitely are not the same. People want to have options out there. You go to the mall or even to the regular market, you know on what I mean.
Yeah.
People want to have options, not just to eat one particular item.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not good to be so dependent on particular commodities from other areas, but these are the realities. When you see shipments and the amount of flour coming to the Nigerian economy, you understand what I actually mean. Okay? You've mentioned the other items. These are items that get to the tables, to the kitchens of Nigerians on a daily basis. The effects might not be immediate.
Yeah.
But as you said, sooner or later, as we begin to receive the next shipment, and of course, trust marketers, the moment they realize that, this is going to happen, they will shoot up the prices.
In advance.
In advance.
Yeah.
And trust the Nigerian economy, the moment prices go up, they hardly come down.
Yeah, the comment I read on Facebook earlier talked about how this will affect the Ajakuta steel. You're wondering, what has Russia got to do with Ajakuta steel? Well, Nigeria was planning to revive Ajakuta steel with funding from Russia early this year. We were expecting some support from the Russian government to bring back the Ajakuta steel. With Mr. Wapmu, certainly this is not happening. I mean, Russia is not thinking about giving anybody money for anything right now. Or do you think they'll still go ahead with it?
As for whether Russia will actually be willing at this time, well, agreements are agreements, and I think Russians actually pay serious attention to the issue of agreements. But the point is that not at this time when they are at war.
Right.
Definitely, they will actually devote every resource at their disposal to winning this war or making a statement.
Yeah.
That henceforth, if we say this, we mean it.
Let's also talk about one more angle, and that's the Nigerians in Ukraine and in Russia.
Yes,
Nigeria plans an evacuation tomorrow. But as we know, Nigerians are now scattered across Europe. I mean, some of them have crossed into neighboring countries, in a bid to get out of the crisis.
I don't think the idea is for a passenger plane to go into Ukraine or Russia at this time, but to be able to actually, those ones who can actually move out from the neighboring countries at this time. You mentioned the numbering about more than 4,000 Nigerians, just the students.
Yes, just
these are the ones that we are legally recognized as living there. You trust Nigerians, as you said, we are scattered all over Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't think the point now is to evacuate all Nigerians from Europe, but rather the crisis spots. You understand? I think that's the main point. So efforts are on, and I think we should actually, in a way, commend the Nigerian government by even at least venturing to do this at this time. It is true that, yes, our foreign policy should be directed towards ensuring that we put Nigeria first, their interests first, wherever they are. They are part and parcel of us. And I think, with respect to your first question, just before we went on break, what is our business there? It's our business because our brothers and sisters are out there. Beyond the bread, butter matter, beyond the gas that comes to our cylinders, beyond other matters that affect our economy. I think the point is that the human factor. Our brothers that are out there, it's our desire that, we organize this in such a way that they actually get safe. By the way, in terms of organization, the Nigerian Diaspora Organization, they have branches all over, inclusive in Europe. So they have a way of coordinating to ensure that at least, they gather Nigerians. We are not dealing with individuals here, we are dealing with groups here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the respective embassies and diplomatic outposts will actually play a very critical role in this regard.
Absolutely.